All right, we are here with a very special guest today. I want to introduce you guys all to Senator Nick Miller. He's our state senator for mainly Lehigh County. Is here joining us today. We're gonna talk some real estate, and he's gonna hopefully shed some light on some things that are happening over in Harrisburg to help alleviate the inventory crisis that we're having.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And then a large part of northern Northampton as well, all the way up to Bushkill Township. So to Lehigh and Northampton counties.
Wow, that's a lot. So how many people do you represent?
267,000.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to start off with some real estate stats, some things that we're seeing in the marketplace, and why this is coming to be. This you being on our podcast. Currently in Lehigh County, there's 294 homes on the market, with about 172,000 total housing units. That represents 0.1% of the available inventory that's actually on the market, which is extremely low. We have roughly just under 2 months of inventory, which is up from about a month and a half, just a few months ago. A balanced market, by the way, is between 5 and 7 months of inventory. So we're sitting at just under 2.
That's crazy.
Right? So that kind of leads to the affordability crisis that we're having, and that's what I want to talk about. Seniors are unable to sell their homes because the fear of potentially paying capital gains tax, and then paying higher taxes and a higher price for the home that they might want to move into. Right. So in general, what specific state level policies do you think are most effective for increasing the housing affordability and inventory levels?
Yeah, and I mean affordability across the board, whether it's housing, healthcare, energy, we're seeing it impacting community members all across the Lehigh Valley. But the housing specifically is in crisis mode right here in the Lehigh Valley and across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. One thing I'm looking forward to is the governor's housing action plan that should be released here coming up in the next couple of weeks, to then really push in this budget coming up. But specifically, permit reform. You talk about increasing inventory. We need to continue to get supply onto the market as quickly as possible, and not just multifamily units. We want home ownership. We know the value of that for driving generational wealth. That's something that we're trying to. We made some good steps, but we need a lot more work to do on that permitting reform. Specifically, the speed program, which allows permits to get to the finish line quicker.
So, what do you happen to know? Like, how long? I mean, I know a permit for a new build literally can take years. What do you?
And that's the problem, right? You've got an investor that wants to bring inventory to the market, and they're looking at where they want to invest their dollars. Is it in Pennsylvania or North Carolina? And we see it in the business and in the housing investment sector as well. But going from years to months to weeks is the ideal timeline. And we're seeing it across the board, whether it's DEP permits. One thing that we've seen a consistent challenge with is sewer water module plans, and getting those approvals and getting permits to actually start construction. Being able to speed that process up is important without sacrificing any of those environmental concerns or the stormwater, because those are very real too. We see the flooding that happens throughout the Lehigh Valley. Making sure we're taking that into account is crucial, and we can't skip that step. But how do we be more efficient is important.
Okay, good. How would you assess the impact of current zoning laws and local regulations on supply of affordability?
Yeah, I mean, and I used to serve as an alternate on the Allentown zoning board, so know that piece pretty well. And they just went through an entire new zoning update. Really curious to see how that benefits. That went from the zone Allentown. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one just yet, but they just approved it, and more density in the urban areas around transportation hubs. I think that makes a lot of sense, while protecting farmland and open space. There's a balance, and we've seen this challenge of kind of this back and forth polling on consuming farmland and open space versus investing in our urban environments. We as government leaders have to make sure we're putting guardrails on that development and protecting that space. And there's a lot of properties in the Lehigh Valley that are old industrial sites that could be reused first. One example is the Lehigh Valley Dairy that we've been championing, getting that old blighted property that has sat for 30 years and seeing progress there. So we got that went through environmentals and got the demolition completed, and now it's on the market to hopefully for a mixed use on a crucial gateway in the Lehigh Valley. Utilizing those types of properties important instead of the open space.
So Lehigh Valley Dairy, you're talking about the building, that big building on MacArthur Road?
Correct, yep. Yeah, so that's
Near-
been demolished.
near 22.
Yep, yeah. Demolished, and we're working on that intersection right there with 6th Street and Mickley Road is very challenging, so we're working on that too.
That's a lot of stuff too on the mortgage side of things when people are out shopping, and the conservation of farmland, being from the area too. That's a lot of questions on that. So I'm really glad you speaking on that on top of revitalizing buildings and structures, but also preserving those farmlands and things. As much as everyone wants that new house and they still like to have that feel of the Lehigh Valley. That's great. You guys are championing that.
Yeah, the quality of life is what makes the Lehigh Valley so attractive.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to diminish that by continuing to consume all the open
that's
space.
great.
Yeah.
So one other thing that I keep on talking about, and I can't, for the life of me, can't understand why this is, but the average age of a first-time home buyer is now 40 years old.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's a new stat that just came out from NAR just a few weeks ago. And that's up from 38 years old just a year ago. Going back, 7-10 years, something like that, the average age was around 28 years old. So you're literally starting your journey to generational wealth at the age of 40. Right. What incentives can the state do, or what as a legislator, what can you focus on, or what do you focus on to help first-time home buyers get into a home?
Yeah. And it's across the board. We know that interest rates have impacted that first-time home buyers getting into the market, and then the closing costs is a huge factor. Is being able to save tens of thousands of dollars, be able to go purchase your first home. It is a real barrier. We've seen it, and one thing that we've worked on is called Put Down Roots. It's a grant program that would actually forgive student loans as part of the package, right? That you can incentivize people putting down their roots, buying their first home, getting their job, and staying long term, especially because we have a kind of population crisis where we're declining in population. We want younger families to come into Pennsylvania, buy their home, and stay here long term. Yeah. What better way to incentivize it by a grant program that would either, one, pay student loans, or two, help with closing costs?
That's amazing. That'd be fantastic.
So that's something we've been working with a number of different centers on, trying to get that out of the Senate. So we'll stay tuned on that.
It's funny. We were actually just talking before we started. Before you came, we were talking about student loans and how impactful that is on a
it's a
home
huge
buyer.
burden.
Yeah.
It's a huge burden when I do those pre-approvals and you see that debt, and it plays into it, exactly what you said. It plays into, like, I love that house, but I have this debt, and even if it's deferred, they know it's coming.
Right.
So that'd be a huge opportunity for those clients.
And from the state's perspective, the return on investment is phenomenal to have that family buy a home and stay here long term.
Absolutely.
Helping out with that grant or student loan forgiveness, it will go a long way.
That's great.
Yeah. Couple more things I really wanted to get your opinion on. Well, first of all, are there any recent or upcoming bills that you're co-sponsoring relating to housing or sponsoring yourself?
Just that one I just mentioned, Put Down Roots. We were instrumental on the speed program and PA sites. That's more on the commercial side to help bring businesses, attract and retain businesses. And then the first-time home buyer savings account. That's something that we can continue to expand the opportunities for first-time home buyers to build up the closing costs.
I've heard a lot of people asking, talking about that program, hearing whispers down the alley that coming and what that's going to look like.
Yeah, and another thing I just want to mention, there's a lot of pushback. I would love to hear your feedback on this. Is the private equity cash buyer, is that real in the marketplace? And I've heard kind of a mixed bag of, the BlackRocks of the world kind of coming in, and you can't even compete because you got a cash buyer over ask.
Yep.
And talk about a barrier for first-time home buyers.
That's funny. Sean and I touched on that too for our area, and what that looks like, again, for what the administration is looking to do to put a barrier to that.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're seeing that in the marketplace
Well,
too?
so I was actually on a task force at the National Association of Realtors that worked on large institutional investors like BlackRock, and I don't know that it's a big problem in this area of Pennsylvania. I can't speak for like Western PA or Southern PA, Southeastern PA, or anything like that. It's a big problem in other states. Atlanta, Georgia, for instance. In 2022, there was somewhere around 80% of the single-family homes that were transacted were sold to large institutional investors.
Right.
So yeah, it's a problem in some areas, not so much in the Lehigh Valley that we've seen. That doesn't mean that it won't start coming here. I think one of the bigger issues is with Pennsylvania having the oldest or one of the oldest average age. A lot of senior citizens.
Right.
They're struggling right now. So what we're running into as realtors, and you're a realtor too, I should mention that. What we're running into is when we're meeting with some older seniors, maybe their spouse has passed away and they're looking to move on. They're sitting on these, let's say they have a ranch home in South Whitehall or something like that, and they bought it 30 years ago for $50,000 or $60,000, and now it's worth $400,000. Right, and they're stuck. They don't want to move. They can't move. They're forced to stay and basically, dying at home when they really should be moving on. And that next move is, they could sell their home for $400,000, but now they got to pay capital gains, right? Because they're anything over $250,000, they're going to pay capital gains on. And then whatever they move into, let's say it's a 55 and older community, they're $600,000. So they got to pay $200,000 more than what they're going to get out of their home, and their taxes are going to go from $5,000 a year in property taxes up to $11,000 a year in taxes.
On top of the interest rates, probably a lot higher too.
And
Exactly.
they're probably sitting on 100% equity or very little amount of mortgage payoff so they have a small mortgage or whatever. But yeah, now they're going to go into a 6% or more interest rate. So how they can't afford to move, right? Which, by the way, talking about inventory, that's a huge amount of inventory that is waiting to come on the market, in my belief.
Yeah.
What do we do about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's and they're seeing it from all sides. It's the property taxes, it's the energy bill, it's the healthcare bills.
Yep.
It's why affordability is our top priority, and as the policy chair of my caucus, and addressing all three of those things. And again, I go back to private equity and healthcare. You're seeing these private equity firms kind of buying up hospital systems, addressing that. On the energy side, we need more energy. We're consuming more, and we're not matching that demand. You're plugging in cars, your toothbrush, everything's consuming energy. And then obviously data centers is a big topic right now too, that I'm sure we could spend a whole podcast talking about. Yes. But being mindful of all these factors and having a finance and real estate background to understand that has been very helpful. And making sure that we're addressing things, and it's got to be bipartisan. It's Pennsylvania, we've got a divided General Assembly, and working together to address it is very important. And we've gotten some steps, been successful in a couple different programs, but there's a lot of work to do on the affordability front.
Yeah. It's good to hear that you guys have all these, I'm listening as you go through and hitting these main topics, and having someone like you and your team and your task force that you're working on everything there. It's great because these are all hot topics. So you and I, we sit with buyers and sellers all the time, and these would drastically help. Big time.
Yeah.
I must say, Nick, you're amazing.
Appreciate you, Sean.
I've been a big fan, as you know, for a very long time. I like the work you did as a realtor, and then when you became our state senator, you're one of the biggest champions for real estate at the state legislature. And we really appreciate everything that you do.
Yeah, and I've loved it. I appreciate you, Sean. And I've loved it so far. Just being common sense, middle of the road, and representing the region, both Lehigh and Northampton counties and Harrisburg. It's a great honor. And my district goes from downtown Allentown to rural northern Northampton, state game land. So every issue touches some part of the district. And that's a big challenge, but also, it's really exciting to be able to address every single topic, from Sunday hunting to gun violence and to housing and affordability, most importantly.
Right.
That's great. Well, I would love maybe towards the end of the year, once we kind of go through, maybe having to come back and give us kind of the State of the Union. Start the year and maybe bookend with the other.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah, we just delivered a budget a lot longer than we anticipated or wanted, but it's going to be really, really good for the Lehigh Valley. We've already started to announce some of the investments that we secured in there, and we got a big one coming on this Thursday, so stay tuned.
Nice.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to that for sure.
Talk about somebody who works really hard for his constituents. Nick Miller, everyone. Thank you
Yeah.
for
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate
coming
it.
on.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right. See you guys later.